This is True with True Concept 360. We enter the third segment of a video that a victim is actually the killer. Let's jump right into it.
We're driving it around town. Shortly after this interview, officers found the Impala parked about a block away from the police station. So clearly, Henry drove there himself and then walked over to the police station to avoid them searching it. Back to the interview, the next thing the detective wanted to know was who Henry called and texted that morning.
And so, was there any texts going around like about the situation, or was it just the phone calls?
I think there was like one or two texts.
One or two texts?
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And so would you be fine if we downloaded the phone to have the call logs and the texts?
For what reason?
To corroborate everything here about the call logs and the texts. It helps everyone out.
Download my phone.
To get the call logs to show that those calls were made at those certain times.
I can show you my phone.
Now he's realizing that the cops or the detective is digging a little too deep than what he anticipated. So now they're asking him for his phone records. Because if you really want to prove you're innocent, you have to understand that the detective is going to go, they're going to go crazy about putting an investigation together. They have to know everything. So you have to give up any willing information, just like they're treating it just as if you was willingly to go down to the police station to prove your innocence. So now if you willingly do that, then you will be willingly to give up any kind of information or any information with no hesitation to prove your innocence.
Show you my phone.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? You want to see, I can just show you my phone. I mean, I can just open up my phone and let you go on my phone.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
What's the passcode to your phone?
Just give me my phone and I'll open it up for you.
Okay. Will you open up right in front of me?
Right, yeah, I'll open it right here.
Cool. So if you want to just while I go grab your phone, if you want to just take a closer look, and if there's anything that's sticking out, be sure to mark it, okay?
I mean, what is there to stick out? But
like, for sure places that you went, for sure.
At this point, the detective puts a map down and tells Henry to mark everywhere he drove that morning looking for Breja. When the detective leaves the room to grab Henry's phone, Henry doesn't even touch the marker in front of him. When the detective eventually comes back with his phone, Henry gets very paranoid as he types in his password.
Why are you looking at me to do my password?
Well, that's what I asked.
No, I said I will open it for you.
Yeah,
but
I'm
not going to give you my password.
Okay.
I will open it for you so you can look at my phone, but I'm not going to give you my password.
Okay. And then you're just going to lock it?
Yes, right after you finish looking.
Yeah.
I will let you look in there. I have no problem with you looking.
Okay.
That's something I don't have no problem.
Okay.
It's clear that there's something on his phone that he doesn't want them to see, and then finally, he remembers his password. Throughout Henry's interrogation, the entire town of Davenport was searching everywhere for Breja T.R.U. Sadly, there had been no sightings of the 10-year-old. However, they did have plenty of clues. For instance, Henry's Chevy Impala was seen driving back and forth to different locations around Davenport from 2:13 a.m. all the way until the police were called. The story he was telling investigators wasn't adding up, so they became very suspicious of him. Search warrants were eventually executed on the apartment, Henry's car, his RV, everything. But by nightfall, there was still no sign of Breja. During their search of the area, they did find a child's flip-flop.
So there was a flip-flop that they found down there, and we just want to make sure if something she would wear or not, if it was hers, okay?
However, her mom, Aisha, confirmed that it didn't belong to Breja. It was then Aisha realized that the day was coming to an end and they still hadn't found her daughter.
But that's a blessing. That's a blessing.
So
Thank you.
we're going down to the station. So with everything,
No, that's not hers.
so there's behind the scenes type stuff. Okay, we're doing search warrants. We're doing pinging the phones. Okay. Okay. But we have his mobile home down there. The FBI is down there. Everybody is working on it, okay? It doesn't end, okay?
I know, but it's 9:31 and I haven't heard from her. There's no way. I know. No, that's not her shoe. It's not her
we
shoe.
just...
That's a sad situation, man. He baited this lady all these years, and there's no telling. I maybe, through this little girl's life, don't know what type of relationship she had developed with him, with this guy, and maybe it was, a trustworthy relationship because she allowed him to take her. But it seems as he put it that they were friends. That's not how she act. That's sad.
Make sure, okay?
Yeah, but we appreciate it.
I can't go to sleep with that. Like, what the It's 9:30 and she's nowhere. Nowhere. I can't even talk to him.
After searching through Henry's RV, they found nothing that could officially tie him to Bridget's disappearance.
This is State's Exhibit 810.
This is basically from the door looking towards the rear of the camper.
And can you just describe what different items are being shown here in this photograph?
This shows the kitchen and then a hallway leading to a bedroom.
State's Exhibit 812. What's being shown here?
This is from the doorway looking towards the front of the camper.
And State's Exhibit 813.
This is basically staining in the kitchen with a view towards the back of the camper.
But they did find something suspicious in the bedroom.
This is basically from the entry of the bedroom into the bedroom at the rear of the camper.
So 817. What's being shown here?
This is the bed and the exterior windows.
State's Exhibit 820. What's being shown here?
Underneath the bed.
And what does appear to be underneath the bed?
Appears to be a small table.
And in the upper left-hand corner of this photograph, what is being shown?
There's a bottle of bleach cleaner.
Showing you State's Exhibit 821. What is being shown here?
This is the closet in the bedroom.
State's Exhibit 822. What's being shown here?
Items in the closet.
They found more suspicious cleaning supplies.
Now, when you were in this RV, approximately how tall are you?
I am 6 foot tall.
While you were standing there looking at the microwave, were you able to observe that machete just visually from how high you are, or how tall you are, excuse me?
Yes, I could see the machete from my height, yes.
Since these evidence were circumstantial at best, they found probable cause for an arrest. However, he was their number one suspect. Also, Henry Dinkins was a registered sex offender. In 1990, when he was 17 years old, he was...
Aha! I told you. I told you. Now we're getting down to the meat of the pot of soup. Let's move on further.
Convicted of third-degree SA against a minor. From 2007 to 2014, Henry was arrested at least 5 times for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. Henry admitted he had been living with his girlfriend, Andrea. Investigators found that Henry never registered as a sex offender in that area, which violated his sex offender registry requirements. Alone, this was enough to put him in jail. He was also forbidden to have contact with minors at all. Knowing he was likely involved in Brisja's disappearance, they decided to charge him with this. Disturbingly, after he was arrested, searches for explicit videos of minors were found on his phone. Even in jail, Henry would not confess to what happened to Brisja. Months went by with no sign of Brisja, indicating that she was likely dead. Brisja's case was publicized throughout Iowa. Even in jail, a news story about her disappearance popped up, and interestingly, Henry's cellmate claimed he made a strange comment after watching that news.
Jenkins said to me they would never find her.
News story came on and broadcasted that they were continually looking for her, and he would state that they're never going to find her.
The cellmate said that Henry never admitted to killing her, but the comment was very off-putting. It was clear that he knew exactly where Brisja's body was, and although Henry was confident they would never be able to find her,
He's an evil, maniac, nasty. So many words I want to say about this dude. So many. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
he was wrong. About 8 months after her disappearance, on March 22, 2021, 3 friends gathered to go fishing on Credit Island in West Davenport. On this day, the men parked their car and then walked down a steep embankment to get to the pond. As they made their way down, one of the men looked over and saw something white lying in the brush. The group walked over and one of them actually picked it up. It wasn't until then that they realized they were holding a human skull. By then, they noticed hair at the scene and could discern that the victim was black. They dialed 911. Davenport PD swiftly arrived at the scene. After processing the crime scene, they transported the body to the medical examiner for an autopsy. Despite not knowing the victim's identity, they determined she was a young African-American girl who succumbed to multiple gunshot wounds.
Yes, it's common procedure once all the elements that are on the surface there are recovered to take a trowel and scrape the soil. Sometimes over periods of time, elements can kind of sink into the soil. So I did that about 1 centimeter deep in that area of the remains.
As a result of that process, did you make any further discoveries?
Yes, I found a few additional teeth and then 2 artifacts that were later determined to be bullets.
Okay.
The initial shot struck her jaw, piercing through her spine.
There was a semicircular defect to the inferior portion of the left mandible, which was consistent with a bullet impact traveling left to right through that mandible portion.
What the hell this little girl done so wrong for her to suffer so many bullet wounds to her body? That's crazy. I'm lost for words. I'm lost for words. What could she have done to him? She wasn't no threat. She was a little girl. She wasn't a threat at all.
With some skin tissue remaining on her leg, they conducted a DNA analysis, comparing it with Brisja's mom, Aisha. It was verified that the body discovered on Credit Island was indeed Brisja T.R.U.
We've received confirmation that the remains are those of Brisja T.R.U.
They also found a revolver. They ran a ballistics test on it, and it seemed pretty likely that it was used in the murder. Throughout their investigation, they dug up a ton of evidence linking Henry to Brisja's disappearance and now her murder. So they slapped him with charges, and prosecutors started gearing up for trial. Now, according to the authorities, this is how it went down on July 9th and 10th, 2020. After Aisha dropped off that bag of clothes for her daughter Brisja and her brother DL, They kicked back and played some video games inside apartment 8. But when the night crept in, Henry asked the kids to go take a bath. After the bath, Breja didn't get her pajamas. Instead, Henry gave her this big white t-shirt of his. They all had dinner together, and Breja was the first one to bed. DL and Breja bunked in the bedroom that night, while Henry and his girlfriend, Andrea, crashed on the blow-up mattress in the living room.
Miss Culberson had a blow-up mattress that was out in the living room on the floor where she and Mr. Dinkins were to sleep. Breja was the first one to go to bed, and from the living room you could actually look through the door of the bedroom and you could see the bed, because if you're standing at the doorway of the bedroom, very simply you look forward and the bed is straight ahead of you.
Breja went to bed alone first. Around 11:30 p.m., Andrea cozied up on the air mattress in the living room, and her last memory before nodding off was Henry telling his son to shut down the video game and hit the sack, which he did.
So Breja goes to bed first. Andrea Culberson lays down to go to sleep. Notorious, she can hear Mr. Dinkins say to him that he has so much time to play the video game and that he's going down to bed. And then Notorious was in the bedroom asleep.
A bit past midnight, DL shuffled into bed with his sister, and Henry settled on the couch. But he didn't catch any sleep. It seems Henry had some pretty dark thoughts swirling in his mind. Around 2 a.m., he decided to act on those thoughts and rouse Breja from her sleep. Breja got up, and they wandered off toward the front door. Andrea was out like a light, but DL was apparently awake and aware of what was going on. DL saw his dad and sister slipping out of the apartment, and his dad chatted with Breja about cars. From there, Henry and Breja hop into his maroon Chevy Impala, and surveillance footage clocks the car heading north on Schmid Road at 2:13 a.m.
5:50 and going up to the 6 o'clock hour, that maroon Chevy Impala travels west past the Quick Stop. That maroon Chevy Impala is then identified from video surveillance at a residence on Judson Court, which actually the video surveillance camera was focused out on Eastern. So the rear of that residence faced Eastern.
Shortly after, the camera catches the Impala parked at Henry's RV spot, nestled at 743 Schmidt Road. Now, his RV was pretty basic. No electricity, no running water, just a bed. They couldn't find Breja's DNA inside, but they did unearth bleach.
What's being shown here?
Underneath the bed.
And what does appear to be underneath the bed?
Appears to be a small table.
And in the upper left-hand corner of this photograph, what is being shown?
There's a bottle of bleach cleaner.
To the prosecution, it was clear. Henry lured Breja inside and attacked her. He knew he couldn't pull it off in his apartment with Andrea and DL around, so he took her to the RV where he thought he could get away with it. And afterward, he scrubbed the place clean to cover his tracks. After assaulting Breja, Henry realized she might tell on him.
Breja was a truth teller. She was a child that would tell the truth no matter what. And I think her grandmother's description was, she described her as a tattletale. And the state asserts, when you consider these circumstances and you consider the purchase of bleach and the use of bleach, this child was assaulted in this area. But then it became very clear to Mr. Dinkins that there was going to be no way for him to control this child. And so therefore, it forced him to take further action, which was the murdering of Breja T.R.U.
Meanwhile, back at the Jersey Meadow apartments, Henry's girlfriend Andrea stirred awake at 3 a.m. for a trip to the restroom. Strangely, upon reaching the bathroom, she noticed Breja and Henry were nowhere to be seen. DL was in bed, but Breja was absent. Instantly, Andrea's gut twisted with dread. She even reached for her phone to dial Henry's number and find out his whereabouts.
After you fell asleep, was there any point in the night that you woke up?
Yes.
When did that occur?
It was like at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nature called. So I went and I kind of glanced over had no glasses on, so everything was kind of fuzzy. So I saw that she was not there. So I was like, okay, let me go get my glasses so I can see. And I felt on the bed. So I'm like, okay, she's not here. And my first reaction, call Mr. Dinkins.
However, as she moves to call him, she notices his phone resting on the counter. Andrea admitted feeling sick to her stomach. She couldn't even bring herself to return to bed.
What areas did you check?
I checked the bathroom again, just in case. I checked the bedroom. I checked the living room. I checked the kitchen. I checked everywhere.
Both Breja and her boyfriend were gone. From there, Andrea just sat around in the living room, waiting. Then, at 3:30 a.m., she heard the front door open.
Did Mr. Dinkins suggest that there was some type of medical emergency for Breja?
No.
Did Mr. Dinkins communicate to you that he would have reached out to her mother because the child wanted to go home?
No.
Was there any type of emotional disturbance within the apartment to suggest that Breja had gotten upset in the middle of the night and wanted to go home?
Absolutely not.
Wow.
All right. From there, then, when you noticed that Mr. Dinkins was gone, you noticed that Breja was gone, what did you do?
First thing I did was try to call him. Mr. Dinkins.
What happened when you tried to call him?
It rang and it went to voicemail.
All right. Did you try to call him more than once?
Yes.
What happened?
Same thing.
Did you subsequently discover something?
Did I discover something? No.
About his phone?
Oh, it was off.
Okay.
After I got done calling him, there was no answer. I stayed up.
Okay.
I didn't have his phone. I didn't have Miss Langsford's number, so I couldn't call her. So I just stayed up.
Okay. When you say that you stayed up, what room were you located in?
Living room.
Okay. When you stayed up, did you turn the lights on?
No.
Describe then the environment within the apartment.
So when I got done going to the bathroom, it was dark. No lights, nothing was on. And then heard someone softly coming up the stairs. I guess he thought I was asleep.
Unbeknownst to him, Andrea was already awake. The first thing she notices is that Henry is wearing a different outfit.
When I saw him, he had on a whole different outfit. So I don't know.
All right. Let's talk about the description of his outfit. Do you recall what Mr. Dinkins was wearing when you fell asleep?
I do.
What was he wearing when you fell asleep?
Kind of like a white beater and colorful shorts, like white, blue, and pink.
All right. And then when he came up the stairs, what do you remember, if anything, about what he had on?
I would say like a white t-shirt and some blue shorts that look like bandana pattern and some sneakers.
When he reaches the top, Andrea begins firing questions about his whereabouts and activities, but he remains silent.
Wow.
I was like, what's going on? Where are you going? What's going on? And he's like, I'll be back.
Rather than responding to her, Henry simply walked into the closet to get something. Andrea couldn't tell what he grabbed as he tucked it into his waistband, but the prosecution suggested it was his gun.
He's inside the room in the closet grabbing something. What is he grabbing? I do not know.
It's at this point that Andrea peeks out of their bedroom window. There, she spots Breja standing outside beside the Chevy Impala.
I looked out the window and saw Breja outside.
Whoa. The little girl was with him at that time of the morning, alive, and she seen the little girl. She knew that this guy was up to no good, but she didn't say anything. She did not say a word. Wow. Unreal. Well, I think this is going to do it. We are already into the third segment of this video. I know I did a lot of commentary a lot of reaction to it. I put my thoughts on it, so it took up a lot of time. It still has 23 minutes of this video. If you want to go back and watch the remaining of this video, I'll be leaving a link down in the bottom in the description section that you can go and watch this video in its entirety without the reaction, which was my reaction. But unreal. It's just too bad, too sad. But like I will always say, there's always three sides to a case: the plaintiff, the defendant, and the truth. Until next time, good night.